Everybody has their cell phones off? All right, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular council meeting for Monday, September 15th. Call the meeting to order. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations. Hold on there. We're just going to double check our technical. All right. We'll start that again. We acknowledge that this land is the traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy of First Nations, comprised of the Ojibwe, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, and of the Huron-Wendat peoples. We value the significant historical and contemporary contributions of local and regional First Nations and of all the original peoples of Turtle Island who have been living and working on the land from time immemorial. If you are able, please stand for our national anthem. Mr. Malandrucolo for our closed meeting report.
Thank you, Mayor Bondi. On September 15th at 4:30 p.m., Council moved into closed session pursuant to Section 239(2)G of the Municipal Act to discuss correspondence received from the Ontario Ombudsman, being a matter in respect of which a council, board, committee, or other body may hold a closed meeting under another act. Council also moved into closed at 5 p.m. on September 15, 2025, as permitted to do so under Section 239(2)B, 239(2)E, 239(2)F, and 239(2)J of the Municipal Act 2001 to receive information related to an environmental order made by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation, and Parks. And that is the extent of my report.
Hello, at this point, I will go to CAO Jerusevich.
Through the chair. So we do have a new face in council chambers tonight. The town is pleased to announce the appointment of the new Director of Corporate Services, Kate Rowe. Kate Rowe comes to us from the municipality of Lakeshore. She held the position of Manager of Accounting and Revenue there and also did a brief stint as Interim Director and CFO. Kate holds a Chartered Professional Accountant designation, and I feel confident that her extensive experience and dedication to public service will make her an ideal fit for the senior leadership team as well as council. I'm confident her knowledge, leadership, and collaborative approach will contribute to the success of the town. Welcome to the team, Kate.
Any declarations of conflicts of interest this evening from members of council? Seeing none, if you find yourself in conflict later, just advise us. Needing a mover and a seconder of the adoption of the published agenda, and going to ask council that it be amended as there is a minor and urgent item that I will be bringing up to the chair, Vice Chair Shepley later. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Mady, any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Adoption of the minutes for the September 2nd council meeting. Need a mover and a seconder that the minutes be adopted as circulated. Councillor Verbeek, Councillor Guerin, any questions, errors, omissions? Seeing none, all in favor? And that is carried as well unanimously. Moving on to public presentations. We have Megan Sharon here, the advisor in the Municipal Stakeholder engagement from Enbridge. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for attending, and you're going to present some information on your natural gas program. So go ahead, Megan.
That's correct. I'll just share my screen.
With us, Megan, we're just uploading the presentation.
Oh, thank you. Great. Well, through you, your worship, good evening, Mayor Bondi and members of the Town of Essex Council. My name is Megan Shannon, and I'm an advisor with Municipal and Stakeholder Engagement for Enbridge Gas Ontario. And I am here this evening to provide you with more information on the Natural Gas Expansion Program, and GEP for short, Phase 3 consultation. Next slide, please. If you just want to back, yes, thank you. So launched in 2019, the NGEP connects Ontario families and businesses to reliable, affordable natural gas in small, urban, rural, northern, and Indigenous communities. NGEP is a leading example of how integrated energy planning can enhance the reliability and resiliency of our energy system to foster growth and address rising energy demands in our communities. Next slide, please. To date, the first two phases of the NGEP are extending service to an estimated 59 communities and 17,000 homes and businesses that previously lacked natural gas access. Local leaders praise these investments for delivering affordable energy and spurring economic growth. Next slide, please. Why does this consultation matter? Natural gas keeps Ontario running and keeps costs down. It supplies nearly half of the energy we use and delivers twice as much energy as electricity at about a quarter of the cost. For the Town of Essex, it's not just about expanding natural gas access. It is a strategic opportunity to support the community's growth, economic development, and quality of life. This consultation is your opportunity to shape how natural gas expansion can support affordable housing, job creation, community resilience, while aligning with Ontario's integrated energy planning. Next slide, please. The Ontario Ministry of Energy and Mines is now consulting on the future of a potential NGEP Phase 3. The proposal on the environmental registry is collecting input from Ontario municipalities on community needs and readiness until September 22nd. Municipalities are encouraged to submit their comments by then and engage their local MPP and the Minister of Energy and Mines to ensure that priorities are heard. The government recognizes that municipal voices are critical, and the unique energy needs of each community shape how Phase 3 can enable affordable heating and economic growth across Ontario. Next slide, please. So we have provided your municipality with a toolkit of optional materials to support your submission, including a draft council resolution supporting Phase 3, a draft letter of support, and an ERO submission template for your consideration. The Town of Essex could coordinate and amplify submissions with neighboring municipalities like Essex County, promoting local and regional joint priorities. The Town of Essex could also work with local associations, BIAs, Chamber of Commerce, and community groups to submit letter of support or comments. Next slide, please. Your municipality is a key stakeholder to us. We are committed to working in partnership with the province and municipalities to ensure no community is left behind in this consultation. Thank you for listening, and with that, I'll answer any questions you may have.
Very much, Megan. Any questions from members of council this evening? I do have a comment from our CAO, Kate Drusevich.
Through the chair, Megan, we just want to direct a thank you towards the Enbridge organization. They recently linked up with us and awarded us up to $5,000 to purchase additional smoke and carbon monoxide detectors. So they worked with Chief Pilon as well as Rayanne, our grant analyst, and we really appreciate you reaching out and working with us and getting those funds awarded to us.
No problem.
From members of council. At this point, I will seek a mover and a seconder that the presentation be received and that council endorse the following motion, whereas the province has posted the ERO 0250923 consultation on the future of community natural gas expansion, seeking feedback from municipalities, Indigenous communities, and other stakeholders on how Phase 3 could best support access to natural gas for community development. And whereas expanding access to natural gas is identified as a tool to support affordability and economic growth in Ontario communities, with Phase 1 and Phase 2 estimated to enable connections for approximately 17,000 buildings across 59 communities and 16 projects completed to date. And whereas the town of Essex is working towards its housing and employment land goals that contribute to Ontario's broader objective to build at least 1.5 million homes by 2031, and recognizes that timely servicing solutions, including natural gas where appropriate, can enable these targets. And whereas Ontario's energy future relies on the balance of affordability, reliability, and sustainability by leveraging a mix of energy solutions, including natural gas, electricity, and emerging energy technologies to meet the growing community needs. And whereas natural gas continues to play a critical role in supporting energy, affordability, economic competitiveness, and enabling housing and employment growth across the province. Now therefore be resolved that Council supports the Ministry's consultation on the future of community natural gas expansion and endorses access to natural gas as an option to other energy solutions to advance the town of Essex housing, employment lands, economic development objectives. 2, direct staff to submit comments reflecting the town of Essex priorities, including priority application types, alignment with the official plans, secondary plans, sites and corridors where gas access will enable development, housing, employment lands, and where Phase 1 and Phase 2 learnings, if applicable, and practical barriers, timing, permitting, cost, and land access. And 3, forwards this resolution to MPP Anthony Liardi, as well as the Minister of Energy and Mines, the Ontario Energy Board, the Association of Municipalities Ontario, and neighboring municipalities. Looking for a mover and a seconder for all of that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor McGuire-Blaze. Questions, comments to all of that? Councillor, no, do you want me to repeat it? No, I'm not repeating it. Everybody can read it. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, Megan. I do have one quick question. So the feedback timeline is only until September 22nd, is that correct?
Yes, through your worship, that's correct.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
Moving on, we have our AMO conference recap. We have Councillor Verbeek, Councillor McGuire-Blaze, and Councillor Mady. We will go in the order listed if that is okay. Councillor Verbeek.
All right, so me first, eh? Through you, Madam Mayor. It's only 20-minute report, so I'm kidding. I'll just give a quick recap, and I won't take it all because there was a good group of us. To start off, our keynote speaker this year was Andrew Coyne, and he was okay. He spoke about our political landscape over the past year. And he spoke about our rapidly changing political environment. His take echoed the views of other speakers that I heard throughout the weekend at workshops and from other attendees. And that was concern over the emerging potential threats to democracy and our declining civil political discourse. So each day there were insight breakfasts and learning lunches. So we could choose from a large number of topics they offered. And then we could take our meal and listen to a variety of knowledgeable speakers and their presentations. So I attended a workshop, AMO's Civility and Anti-Harassment Strategy, and they're developing a strategy to combat the incivility and harassment experienced by elected officials and municipal staff in Ontario. And there were lots of stats, and there was a slideshow, and there were insights from the speaker. And then we broke into small working groups, and at my table, there was 6 different municipalities represented by about 9 of us. we talked about a lot of things, but what struck me was that 3 of the municipalities had either a CAO, a mayor, or a council member that had been accosted in public, online, and in their homes. And it was all by previously elected officials that were no longer serving on council. So I thought that was kind of ironic that I landed in that group. At a point the facilitator made, a point that the facilitator in this group made that resonated with me, I'd like to share, was that misinformation and disinformation is driving the rise of incivility. The 5th pillar of our democracy, the press media, has been chopped down and replaced by keyboard warriors. That also resonated with me. Anyway, this session also encouraged municipalities to have strong policies to address this. And I think that later on tonight, we're going to be able to speak a little further because, coincidentally or not, my fellow councillor has brought forward a motion to try and address this a little further. We heard speeches from the Premier Ford, we heard from our Lieutenant Governor, from leaders of all the other political parties, we heard from several ministers. We had lots of opportunity to chat and idea share with people involved with governance across Ontario. So at one session, something that really pleased me personally immensely was to learn that finally they're consolidating our voters list. I worked on that voters list over years at Elections Canada and Elections Ontario, and a few years back they wisened up and merged, but our municipal list was is now going to be merged into one list. That was really pleasing to hear. And I'll touch on another session that I attended, and it was about the integrating housing and health supports. Now, some municipalities were able to share stories of creating and operating supportive housing. There were models in cities where there was private, public institutions and community all came together. They created like out-of-the-box working models. Some were very small scale and some were much larger. What resonated from this session with me was that, and this was new news to me, was that Ontario is the only province that has had housing downloaded to our municipalities. We need much more from our Ontario government on this issue. Every other province in Canada, it's handled by the province. It's not, we're the province that it's been downloaded to our municipalities. So the deputy mayor, our CAO, myself, got a chance to meet with our Ontario Medical Association. We were able to discuss local healthcare needs and our need for physicians. But what was neat about this is that it clearly opened the dialogue, because shortly after we got back, we received an email outlining the content of our discussion, showing that they really were listening to us. And now that dialogue has been open. Last but not least, to share on expenses, to save on expenses. Some of us ride shared, so I was able to ride with the deputy mayor and the mayor, and we were able to, talk to each other on the ride. Every single night, we were together, Team Essex. We ate together, we hung out together, we gallivanted and talked with other people from other communities. But what was so important about that is that it helped us connect and get to learn, build more relationships with each other, which of course makes our ability to perform our governance, our council business in a much more effective and respectful way. All in all, it was a pretty good conference, and I appreciate the opportunity that I had to go.
Councillor McGuire-Blaze.
Thank you, through the chair. So a couple of the, Councillor Verbeek did a really good overall, which was really great because I didn't write all that down. So I'm glad you went first. So one of the sessions that I went to is called Growing Wisely, Planning for Our Community and Future. And this was about how as a municipality we can plan responsibly and smartly. And one of the things that I actually asked was, what does a municipality do when the lands that we currently have for industrial or residential growth, if those property owners aren't wanting to go ahead with development and we're kind of at a standstill, what is a municipality to do? How do we entice those developer or those landowners to help us grow? Their suggestion at AMO was to do a use it or lose it. So basically going to those landowners and saying, listen, you're holding us hostage here. If you're not willing to develop your lands, then we're going to repurpose the land and we're going to put this back to farm field and we're going to give the opportunity to the next guy. So that was really interesting that was a suggestion and something that I think we as a council have already talked about. So it might be something that we look into doing in the next couple of years, maybe next council. Another one that I went to that was really great was called Understanding Municipalities and Corporate Sponsorship. So it kind of like tied into exactly what we're doing here. And another really good thing that we found out was how do we go about doing this? How do we go about collecting these sponsorships? Do we go door to door and just knock on people's doors and ask those questions? Their answer was to put a request for interest was their answer, and to put that out there to everybody and leave it out there. Don't put a timeline on it, and make your list and put it out there, and basically, yes, go and knock on those doors of the people that we know. So start local and knock on every door in Essex and then expand from there. But where we're going to probably get the money for those sponsorships are right here in our own municipality. So that was a really good takeaway too, just because that's what we're talking about right now. Those two things are how do we grow and how do we get sponsorships for the things that we need. One of the other things that I really took away from this the most, I think, was speaking with other municipalities. We are not unique. Every municipality seems to have the same problem. Every municipality seems to have some kind of power issue, growth issues, sewer, water treatment, roads issues. We all have the same. But the question I had was, how are municipalities getting government grant monies that we're applying for, but we're not getting? What is the difference between Essex and the other municipalities? So asking those questions to the municipalities who have been successful, their answer has been, we adopt. So if we apply for a grant for roads and we don't get it, we ask that question, what did we do wrong? What do we need to do so when the next grant comes up for a road, we're more prepared? And then they do those things. They don't wait for the next grant to come up. They do those things to get themselves prepared, because we know if you take a look at history and the grants that come out, there's typical ones that just keep coming every 5-10 years. The grants keep coming. If we can align ourselves like these other municipalities have, we can align our goals to try to get those grants. Then when we need to do the roads, we're already there. And then we can just give the information and hopefully be more successful than we have been in the past. The other thing that I really took away with it was a lot of people said we need to align ourselves with the province's mandate. That's build more homes faster. I was told Essex isn't really aligned that way with the province, and we need to kind of shift our mindset a little bit more if we're looking to get that grant money. I mean, if we don't want it, we don't have to do anything. We can keep doing what we're doing. But in order for us to get that money from the province, we do need to start being a little bit more development friendly, removing more red tapes and doing things like that. So that was really interesting to me to see how these other municipalities are getting the monies that we're looking for. And we might be feeling maybe like left out right now, especially with all of the grants that are going around in our county. So maybe we need to start shifting the conversation into where do we want to go? Do we want to start developing more, and how do we do it so that way we can align ourselves to get this money from the province? So something for council to think about, something for administration to think about. And coming into an election year, it's probably something the next term of council might want to consider on the strategic plan. But definitely a lot of good information, and it was a really great conference. So I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks.
Councillor Mady.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship, it's tough to hit cleanup after these two, but it was a great conference, and to touch on some of the points, it was neat that we could sit in some of these same congruent sessions and get different takeaways from the exact same presentation. That was really fun to be a part of. Some of the most memorable ones that I sat in was the smart growth and asset management. So to go on with that point, that there was a projected forecast out to 2051, and that many regions in Ontario are going to grow between 40 and 50% more than where they're at right now between now and then. So that really stressed why planning growth matters. That unplanned growth, creates a lot of risks, higher backlogs in our services, failures, and real costly development in unserviced areas. Also, whatever we build, we have to integrate into our asset management plan. So coming from Colchester, any boater knows that buying the boat isn't necessarily the biggest expense. It's operating that boat and taking care of that boat for its entire life that becomes the big expense. So that was a really, really interesting session for me. The next one was the emergency preparedness. So this is a new ministry set up, the Ministry for Emergency Preparedness and Readiness. They've been doing some wonderful work. They are a single coordinated window for provincial resources whenever there's an emergency. The big takeaway from that was that you do not have to declare the area an emergency to be able to access some of these resources. So on smaller scale storms that we have, we need some roads cleared out or something. This ministry is set up to help us clear those roads and allow our emergency vehicles to go where they need to go. They also help on bigger areas to actually come and triage and help us set up our emergency preparedness stations. They had some good examples from one of their first large-scale environmental catastrophes, I guess, would be that spring ice storm, where over 1 million people were affected, and they were able to get over 6,000 hours of volunteer services to those people in a very timely fashion. They had spoke about how a mayor had called for a warming station, and overnight they had over 300 beds set up in a warming station for residents. So it's a really powerful ministry that we can access, and seeing how it's going on tonight, I would actually really like to invite that minister down to our area and have her take a look, the Honorable Jill Dunlop, on what we're doing, because I'm pretty proud of our fire services and the emergency preparedness and training that you're doing, and I'd like them to see that what Essex can do and what we are doing. So I would leave it with the rest of the room that if we believe it's a good idea, we should invite her down here and kind of show off a little bit. The next session that oh, sorry, I don't want to overlook another very important thing that came out of that session was Ontario Corps. Now, this was something that I had no idea even existed. And now that I know it exists, I want to learn how I, first of all, can become a member. Second of all, how I could promote it in the area. This is a group of people that you sign up and you become a volunteer. And the ministry will train you. I'll give you some training in the emergency preparedness and how to handle emergencies, how to handle people when they're facing some of the worst times of their life, to be able to go there and help them. On activation, the province will call you and you can actually go and help in an ice storm or help in a flooded area and give some expertise that you've learned and help out. So to me, that was a really neat thing that I didn't know existed. And now that I do know it exists, I want as many volunteers as possible. And that at first in our area, they were trying to get the word out through the Habitat for Housing, tapping in with some of those people with skills. So I think maybe they missed the mark a little bit, and that we have some more areas we can get some skilled people out there and help with that, the Ontario Corps. So then the last session that I attended was the accessibility and inclusive. Now this was a neat one where they actually had an architect come and explain how important it is when the town picks their architects on some of the projects they have. That if you design that with accessible features built in, normally it's cheaper to do than trying to retrofit later. And if you include people that have some of these accessibility issues in that design phase, you actually can understand more about what they need. And they had some really good speakers on that. They highlighted the City of Waterloo's new park monument in their downtown core, where they follow the design principles and had their accessibility committee really relevant in their decision making on this, and how it's won gold stars and it's becoming a provincial standard for that work. Now, any of these conferences have the trade show, and they're usually my favorite spot to go hang out. And I got two big takeaways. I'm going to be bringing some more information to this group too. One is the eJust electric minibus. This was a neat looking bus that it's accessible. It's designed to go with a modern form of transit. So no longer do you have your dedicated bus routes zigzagging across your city, often underutilized. Now with these new bus routes, you're able to actually have a map, and you can call for a bus when you need it. And the bus's routes are all kind of dynamic. So it allows a tremendous amount of uptake in smaller urban or smaller, even rural areas for this type of transit. As we know, when we're looking at transit studies, it's really hard to justify some of the costs. But with services like this, it really, really helps bringing that cost level down, and it might be an option for our municipality. Also, the people that were at the trade show were key in getting some grants and pilot programs for other municipalities. And they said that there's quite a few ways to be able to have a pilot program at very minimal cost. So that's some information that I definitely want to be bringing. As far as the camaraderie and the hanging out, yeah, I definitely enjoyed my time with the Essex peeps, and I look forward to the next conference, and I was honored to be able to go to this one. Good.
Any questions or comments for our council members that presented? Seeing none, looking for a mover and a seconder that their presentation be received. Councillor Hammond, Councillor Guerin, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Moving on to fire and rescue, we have Fire Engine 3 pre-budget funding request. We'll go right to our fire chief, Mr. Pilon.
Good evening, Council, and through you, Madam Mayor. This report is going to seek pre-budget approval to begin the procurement process for the replacement of Engine 3, which is the primary pumper at Fire Station 3. Engine 3 is going to be replaced in 2026 after 20 years of service, which aligns with the industry standard lifespan for frontline fire apparatus. This truck is an American LaFrance, and the manufacturer is no longer in business, making parts obsolete, costly, and difficult to source. As a result, the truck has experienced repeated mechanical issues and a prolonged out-of-service period, impacting emergency response readiness. Maintenance costs have significantly increased over the past 2 to 3 years, with additional repairs anticipated in 2025. Delaying replacement would result in continued high repair expenses and could further delay delivery into 2027. Ordering in 2025 allows us two major options: locking in current pricing to avoid a projected 6% increase in 2026, which is about a $78,000 save, and we want to secure a production slot to ensure timely delivery in 2026. This project has been included in our capital forecast since 2021 and is a scheduled capital project for 2026. It will be funded from the Asset Management Reserve, which holds significant funds. The RFT will specify that no payment will be due until delivered in 2026. Early approval supports cost control and ensures we maintain reliable frontline emergency capability. I can answer any questions.
Questions, comments from members of council? Anything anybody from administration wish to add? We're smiling at the significant amount of money in our asset management plan. Just significant. Councillor McGuire, Blaze.
Thank you through the chair. So we know that engines need to be replaced every 20 years. It actually was a topic at AMO we talked about and how sometimes it doesn't always fit the municipality. But in this case, we knew that this was coming. I'm going to assume that we have been putting money aside, knowing that we were going to need $1.3 million. Can we just confirm that?
Thank you through the chair, and good question. I don't know if I would have used the word significant, but there is funds in there. And so I'll just explain that a touch. The asset management plan reserve is tied to our asset management plan study. And what that study recommends is certain increases each year. So we make sure through budget deliberations, we are adding a tax increase to be directed into that reserve. So we have. And what I can say is that reserve is at sufficient levels to fund the next, I would say, 5 years of studies. But that is why each year at budget deliberations, we do see an ask to continue to put money into that reserve based on what the study tells us.
I'm not saying no to this. I am just wanting to express my dislike for having to do pre-budget approvals, especially knowing that we're going into an election year. Budgets are already going to be tight. We don't want to see a huge budget increase. I know that it has to be done, and I know that this is a non-budget issue in that it won't affect our budget. Sorry, I'll tickle my throat. 1 minute. Thank you. I just don't like to see, and I don't want it to be a theme that we keep getting these pre-budget items come across council's agendas. Budget is only in 3 months, and I don't know why. I think that other things can wait. Obviously, this can't. It's a 20-year engine. I understand that we won't be able to get insurance for it probably after 2026. I understand that the parts are unavailable. I understand that this is a need. It's not a want. It is a need. I just don't like the pre-budget part of it. So those are just my 2 cents. It's kind of a direction towards our administration. I'm not in favor of them keep coming. I don't want to see an abundance of them. So thank you.
So we absolutely do not plan on making it a frequent report. But what we have done is usually around this time, every September, October, we do a vetting across the senior leadership team, and we ask for very specific criteria for projects that they think could have substantial cost savings if we tender them early. So what I can say is if there is a project put forward by administration that might need a tax increase, we do not bring it forward at this report. We only bring forward 100% replacement items that we know have been tied to AMP. And so it does go through a vetting process, and once a year, we would present those in September or October only if we believe that it could have significant cost savings for the town.
Madam Mayor, so yeah, I too was a little concerned when I first saw this because I was worried about the budget, but at the same point in time, I do realize that at county, we see this quite often. It's the EMS buses take forever to get. So we're constantly trying to get the order in before next year's pricing comes out. So we see that cost increase. So I totally understand. I totally support it. And you know, it's a required asset. And for those services, we don't want to wait and pay a higher price. We know we need them, so we have to have them. So thank you for the report.
Against you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it's gonna sound like an echo now. I do totally agree that, yeah, pre-budget's always a tough one, but it's a good point that this is funded through a non-tax raising source. And the second point is when I read the report, and I just wanted to reread it again, that when we lock in the current pricing, we're avoiding an anticipated 6% or $78,000 price increase. So $78,000 is a pretty good savings for 3 months of time, I think. So it definitely does warrant us looking at it and voting for it.
When the time comes, I'll make the motion. But I did the same thing, Councillor Mady. I pulled a couple of sentences out of the report that resonated, and that was one of them, quite a significant potential savings. And the early action will also help secure availability. which could become in question if we pause too long, and ensure the town continues to meet its public safety responsibilities with reliable frontline apparatus.
And again, that was one of our big reasons. We've come to find, talking to our fire truck suppliers, that they're not going to be available if you don't jump on them early for 2026. And to go a whole another year with this truck, it's going to be, problematic with repairs. So there's a lot of other fire departments out there doing the same thing. Obviously, this isn't what we want to do, pre-budget approval. Like, coming on what we found out in the last several months is you almost have to in order to lock one in because of the wait times.
Spoke to it, that wishes to speak to it. So as mayor, I get the privilege of setting the agenda. I welcome pre-budget submissions in fire if it's going to help protect our residents. I said the same thing with colleagues when we're talking about EMS. EMS at the county we've put a lot of money into it. We've had a lot of pre-budget reports at the county, but we're having less code reds, code blacks. So when it comes to the safety of our residents and in our firefighters, I'm sure that they need this, then that is something that I welcome coming to an agenda, and council members can always vote opposed to it. So you always have a decision. If you don't like it, you can vote opposed to it. But I think it's progressive. I think it's visionary. I've been here quite a few years now, and I like to see the proactive nature of reports like this. Sure, we don't want it every time, and we don't want it for sidewalks and some other things like that. But when something happens, I want to jump the gun. I want to save money. And I want to get the tools in the hands of the people that need them. And I think Councilor Verbeek has made the motion, supported by Deputy Mayor Shepley. Any other questions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you for coming. Moving on to information technology, IT strategic update. We'll go to Mr. Barron, our information and technology manager.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would just like to spend a few moments to talk about some significant progress the IT department has made since the implementation of the IT strat plan. This IT strategic plan was from 2022. That was engaged. We engaged the Perry Group to do a full review of the town's IT services. We've used this plan as a roadmap to identify and prioritize key areas for improvement. In 2022, we did a questionnaire to all departments to get a baseline on how IT services were viewed, and the results are highlighted in the report. And those focused on areas we needed to improve. In 2023, we did a follow-up assessment, finding a clear improvement in the areas that we focused on. Since that 2023 assessment, we've continued to strengthen our internal system. Looking at the trend analysis, you can see a consistent upward trend showing an overall improvement in IT services across the board. Some of the key areas that we focused on are cybersecurity. We've ensured that our network is more secure through staff training, updated hardware and software, and implementation of new tools for remote management and monitoring. We've improved our connectivity to our remote sites. We're in the process of developing a business continuity plan. It's a corporate-wide business continuity plan to ensure that we can maintain operations during an emergency. We've also focused on migrating applications to the cloud, which provides us greater flexibility and easier maintenance. And we're just finishing our phone system migration to a more modern cloud-based solution. Looking ahead, our future priorities are working with the finance department to replace our current financial software, Great Plains, hopefully to a new cloud-based solution. Also continuing on with cloud migration, which will improve our network infrastructure, and moving user information to the cloud gives us improved remote access, scalability, and disaster recovery. And also a systems administrator position. We have requested a systems administrator position in the 2026 budget. This is a crucial role that was identified in the IT strat plan and will be essential for maintaining our network's efficiency and protecting our organization from cyber threats. We are committed to continuing this progress and providing the best IT services for the municipality. If you have any questions.
I got my new phone in my office today and it's fancy. So if I drop some calls, maybe why I can't figure it out. Any questions, comments from members of council? Seeing none, looking for a mover and a seconder that the information technology report be received. Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Allard, any other questions, comments? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Capital Works and Asset Management, sidewalk at Victoria Avenue and Thomas Street, looking for a mover and a seconder that the report be received. Deputy Mayor Shepley moves by, supported by Councillor McGuire Blaze. Any members of council wish to speak to this report? Councillor Guerin.
Thanks to the mayor. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to hear administration's side on it. How long do we have before we have to use the money that we had put aside for it? Do we have a little more time? Has anyone actually physically went to the location other than just calling and emailing? Is there like, do we have to pull it from our plans right now, or do we have time still to go and meet, even if it means member of council, maybe even attending and discussing it with the owner?
Through the chair. So early on in the discussions, we did reach out and have a discussion with the owners of the site. They did seem amenable to providing an easement over the corner to provide the sidewalk. Unfortunately, as time went on, they were unresponsive to our easement agreement that we had drafted and agreed to. We had numerous phone calls and email exchanges to negotiate that easement agreement, but after that, it just kind of fell off. After many attempts of trying to reach back out to them and them being responsive, we finally sent a letter that stated that, and we sent it by registered mail so that we do know that they did receive it, stating that if we didn't hear back by a certain date, that we would be reporting back to council and assuming that they were not willing to participate and provide the easement. So we never heard back from them. So that's how we left it. There hasn't been any monies set aside specifically for this. That being said, there are some funds left in the Essex Streetscape. That's still an open project. There aren't a lot of funds expected to be spent from there, but there is monies there, but nothing dedicated specifically to this sidewalk.
So I look at it, it's on Victoria at least, it's a block off of the main street. To me, the sidewalks on that side, we just redid the sidewalks all the way down Thomas. I understand that we have to have a willing partner to make this happen, but it's an accessibility issue. That's why it was originally brought up into motion. So if there's no harm in going back and trying again, or even if that means physically visiting and knocking on a door, and with the help of even council or council members, I'm still trying to. We didn't get a definitive no from them. We just didn't get email replies back or phone call returns.
The chair, so we are taking the fact that we sent the letter with that by registered mail that it is a no. The letter was framed in such a manner that we did say if they didn't respond to the letter by a certain date, that it was a no, and that we would be reporting back to council. So we take that as a definitive no. We are willing to go. I believe we did knock on the door a few times, but we haven't had. We also don't want to be too aggressive. They are residents, but we have tried very diligently to acquire a piece of this property to build the site.
Okay, so if we just let it go, then it'll never get done. And because Victoria's already done, when we do Thomas Street, we won't have the ability then to restructure Victoria to make that road a little bit narrower so we can build a sidewalk on our own property. So to me, if we don't try to get a definitive yes or no from him and we just let this go, I feel that we'll never get a sidewalk there unless we could prove some sort of hardship that we could actually expropriate the property, which I don't think is an option at this point. I'd like to just find out myself why we went from, there's nothing on administration. I just want to find out if we can, we still have time, why it went from, yeah, it sounds pretty good to just not replying back to emails and phone calls. It's kind of disturbing.
Any other members of council? I'd be willing to go knock on their door with you if you want to go. We can go. I don't think we should like completely close the file. I like the idea of the sidewalk there. Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Maybe a motion to defer this for a later date so we can have an opportunity for maybe the mayor and Councilor Guerin to go and knock on that door.
Through the chair, you're receiving the presentation. I think you could receive the presentation. I think administration understands your direction. And I think administration can come back.
Seconder already. Any other comments? Councilor Guerin?
The mayor, all good suggestions. I just want to know, I think administration probably wants to know too, where we are going to go. Like, we don't need 20 of us going down there and calling on them, but a strategy we need to figure out, right?
I believe Sarah Bell can put something in our schedule and we'll go knock on the door. We can bring a letter as well in case they aren't home. Okay. So we're going to receive it with a friendly amendment that Sarah Bell will schedule Councilor Guerin and I to go knock on the door. Okay, all in favor? That's carried unanimously. Drainage, appointment of an engineer under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for Sinisac Drain, needing a mover and a seconder, that the report be received and that council appoint R.C. Spencer Associates under Section 78 and 76 of the Drainage Act to review the Sinisac Drain. Councilor Verbeek, Councilor Mady, any other questions, comments? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Community Services 2025-07, special events notice, Meyer Alley dedication and celebration, needing a mover and a seconder, that the community services report be received and that council approve closing McAfee Street between King Street and Maple Street and Meyer Alley between McAfee Street and Victoria Street in Harrow on Saturday, October 4th, between 11:30 and 5:30 for the event, and that council approve a temporary noise exemption from 11:30 to 5:30 on the same Saturday, and that council approve the Meyer Alley dedication and celebration for significant event statuses for purposes applying for a special occasion permit on this event. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor Allard. Any questions, comments? I think this will be really exciting. Party in the alley. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Legal and Legislative Services 2026 regular council meeting dates, needing a mover and a seconder, that the report be received and that the dates for the 2026 regular council meeting be posted herein approved. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councilor Allard. Any questions? All in favor? And that is carried. Declaration of surplus land. I will go to Director Malanjukulo and you can pronounce the name.
Through the chair, this is a declaration of surplus request for Keoshik Road. The reason why I just want to speak on this briefly. The reason why this is being declared as surplus is because the abutting property owner is looking for a 5-foot by 114 strip of land for erosion mitigation measures. So if we declare this as surplus, it's with the intention that we are going to enter into an agreement of purchase and sale with the abutting property owner to sell this property. So this is a 2 reading. This is 2 readings of the bylaw. There'll be a 3rd reading in October at the October 6th meeting if this one's passed. And then after that, we would then advertise the potential sale and then come back to council for approval on an agreement of purchase and sale. But prior to doing all of that work, just looking for council's, if council has any questions or if there's any considerations that council wants to put to this before we declare it as surplus, looking for that feedback now so that I can get some information back to council before we declare it as surplus and go through the process of trying to sell the property.
Okay, we'll go to council for questions and comments. Councilor Hammond.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. I went down to the property this afternoon to have a look at it, and quite frankly, it almost made me cry. Having visited that beach so often when I was a child and see what it's reduced to now, it's heartbreaking. And it's the accessible beach for everybody on Colchester Country Club, which the proponent here is asking to take another 5 more feet from that beach. I'm concerned about how he's gonna address the break wall, because right now that 5 feet holds a line of trees that are basically holding his property from becoming part of that beach property. Because if you can look at the picture and assess the beach to the immediate east, you'll see that it's inland quite a bit from his exterior break wall. I understand he wants to address that, and I'm not opposed to him going across the beach property to get to it, but I'm against him putting the property up for sale just to accommodate some break wall, especially when I feel that the 5 feet of tree line that's there right now is the only thing holding that land there. Those my primary concerns regarding designating this land available or disposable.
Thank you for going out there today too. I didn't get a chance, but you made me want to go out there. Councillor McGuire Blaze.
Thank you through the chair. If we deem this surplus lands, it goes out and anybody can bid on it. So the resident who asked for the property, he may not get it.
The intention of this is that we would sell it to that resident. We wouldn't put it up for public sale. The resident came to us asking for this property. It's not something that we're declaring a surplus on our own. So if we're not going to sell to the resident, we have no reason for declaring it a surplus. It's a 5 foot by 114 foot strip that's attached to the property, and the other side is our property. So nobody else, I'm saying something wrong? Okay, sorry. The Director of Infrastructure Services can.
Through the chair, this is 5 feet of property in between 2 privately owned pieces of property. So we own a 5 foot strip in between 2 privately owned pieces of property.
Through the chair. So potentially there would be 2 potential purchasers, but this purchaser actually came to request this from us. So the whole point of declaring a surplus is because we deemed that we could sell it to this property owner. If that's not council's intention, I don't know that administration wants to declare it as surplus.
I feel like we can't do that. Like, how can we take an asset of the town's and say, well, we're only going to allow this person to purchase it? Can you explain that? Like, we can't even call somebody and say, hey, we need a new dump truck. Can you give us a quote? Like, we have to put a request for proposal out there. So how are we able to just pick one person and say, you are the lucky resident that gets to purchase our land, but we can't call local dealership and say, hey, we need a new truck. Can you give us a quote?
We do have a declaration of surplus bylaw. And as part of the bylaw, what we do is once we declare the property as surplus and we intend to sell the property, we advertise that in both local newspapers. So residents can provide comments on that potential sale. And at that point, council can determine that they don't want to sell the property. But we would also, administration at that point would also then reassess whether or not the property should be sold. What I'm trying to say is in this circumstance, when we get requests for property all the time, so alley closures and things like that, where people are requesting abutting properties and they come to council for approval. But they request the abutting property. We go through this whole process. We come to council. We declare it as surplus. Council declares it as surplus. We advertise that that the potential sale. If we hear from other residents, we can consider the other residents and their opinions. If we don't hear from other residents, we sell to the property owner.
Through the chairs. So within the surplus land bylaw, council does have the authority. There is a clause in there that we can choose to do a private sale. And when we look at situations like this, we want to encourage shoreline protection. And so that is why administration looked at it and said, from the public's point of view, there's no access to it. So we also, when we review these, we make sure that no other neighbor would potentially be interested. If they are, then you're correct. We would have to go to a public opening of sorts.
So We've gone to the other neighbor's not interested, and we've asked the surrounding neighbors. Like, these are the beach roads. What if the community says, hey, this is access and this is how I get down to the beach? I'm going to be honest, I have not gone down there myself, so I don't know if it's a usable beach. I'm going off for what Councillor Hammond is saying. It sounds like actual beach. So what if the community, the 30 residents who live on the street say, no, we want to make this a community beach access. We're all going to pitch in $45,000. This is going to be the name on the property, and we want to keep it public, like for our beach.
I know the picture in the report is not great. It's not the best picture, but the parcel, the piece of property that's looking to be declared a surplus, it doesn't affect access. It's actually perpendicular to the access. And it currently, I mean, if you were there, it would currently look like it's part of that property already.
Councillor Mady, then Councillor Guerin. Then I'll double back on people that want to speak again. So Councillor Mady.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. First I wanted a little clarification on the private property. I've been there, and that looks like it's beach access. When you say private property, do you mean that's like the country club owns that property to go to the water?
Through the chair. So the piece of property is directly adjacent to the house. The house is built very, very close to the property line. So when the property owner actually approached us, they said, like, we can't actually protect our property from the lake because we don't have enough space on our property to put shoreline protection, which is the rationale in which we are choosing to tell council we want to sell to this property owner because we want them to be able to protect their property from the lake. This is a 5-foot strip in between two private pieces of property. Access to the beach property is still there through the right of way, which is perpendicular to the 5-foot strip. The land itself where the beach is technically wetlands, a naturalized wetland, and it is owned by the town of Essex. We don't maintain it as a park. We don't maintain it as public access. We retain it as a naturalized outlet for our drainage and stormwater network.
Yeah, then just as a follow-up, if any member of council hasn't had a chance to go down there, I'd really welcome to come down, and I'll meet you there and give you a little tour. Colchester Country Club is kind of one of the neat areas where you do get to see all of our beach roads, every type. We have some private, we have some owned and not assumed, and we have some that are owned and assumed where we've tried to put in a standard with drainage and have it totally off the mark to where some of our owned and assumed roads are deteriorating quickly. So it is a great spot. I would love to walk you through some of it. And the last time I was down there, just a month ago or so, talking with some of the neighbors, they were telling me a story about this actual piece of property. And the last flood that we had, how that neighbor wasn't actually at home. The neighbors that were there got together and helped put some stone on that property because it was being eroded out to the lake during that flooding. And they lost a huge black walnut tree right at the base of that park or naturalized land during that event. So I don't believe any of the neighbors would have a problem with it. I wouldn't mind slowing it down if we wanted to, read it 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, if that would make the rest of council feel better. But I definitely think this is one of those areas where the neighborhood would be in favor of helping out this resident, allowing them to protect the shoreline and keep their property, where it wouldn't have very much impact on the beach that's actually there. And I can understand why our administration is actually recommending this one.
Aaron, and then I have Deputy Mayor, and then I will double back to Councillor Hammond.
Thank you, through the mayor. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go down there and take a look at this myself, I guess. I mean, this is one of these ones that lands on your desk Thursday sometime, and I didn't get a chance to go down there. So, and the pictures aren't very great. I'd love to see an aerial view that shows all the property lines abutting to it, and because looking at the picture that we were given, I didn't think there was another property on the other side of that easement that was owned, and if that was all the way down to the beach. I mean, I can appreciate the erosion part and having to go down there. It looks like there's been some work done there before. I'm not sure if Councilor Meady's saying that's all been residents helping throw those big boulders there, or, I mean, is this the only, why could we not permit accessibility on that beach for them to do the erosion and break wall part rather than have this sell on the property? Is there no access from the beach, or they'd have to go on the other neighbor's property?
So in discussions with the property owner, it's that there's not enough space on their own property between the property line and their home. So their home is built on their property line. So they're seeking the 5 feet to be able to install that shoreline protection along their property. That's what we were told.
Further that then, so I guess I'm gonna put this back to Councilor Meady. All the rocks and all the stuff that they have there to prevent erosion right now was never there before, and you're telling me it was only put there because a lot of the residents there, by hand or by whatever, access the beach area and literally walk through the water and put them all in there.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So no, not all of it. There was some there. During that flooding, it was being eroded. So that's when they went, they helped scoop some of it back in and shored up their driveway.
Perfect. That's what I thought too. There was something there before. I just want to know how he or the previous owner got all the stuff there before. If he has no room on his property, how did they do it before?
I understand what you're saying, but in the property owner's best interest, if they want to spend significant capital dollars to protect their property, they don't want to put it on someone else's property, right? So if it's the town's property, for instance, and they put $100,000 investment into a steel break wall, when they go to resell that property, they want the value to stay in the property that they've invested into it. So even the rocks and the shoreline protection that's on private property, which would be in this circumstance the towns, they want that we could order that removed, right? If we needed to facilitate some type of storm sewer or something, if we needed it to go through there. In this circumstance, we don't need the property. It doesn't hold a lot of value for the town of Essex. We don't need a stormwater outlet. There are various other ways that we could put infrastructure in. In this circumstance, I think the property owner is looking to obtain the property to install that shoreline protection properly on their property to protect their investment.
So, okay, lastly, okay, thanks. I appreciate all that. I still would like to have an opportunity to go down there myself and take a look at it. I don't think that we council put it off maybe till the next meeting. And I agree with you with if it's property we own it's kind of useless to us and it benefits somebody else for a cause like this, I appreciate that. But is it a beach or not a beach is one of the last thing I want to know. Is it a body of water in an area where it needs accessibility and will there still be accessibility to get to it if so, after we sold it?
Chair, this is, to my understanding, and it's probably best if Director Morris who answers the question, but we do not maintain this property as a public park. So we would not, I would say that this is not a property intended for public access for beach. Our beach would be the Colchester Beach. And this property is a naturalized wetland for the purposes of stormwater outlet.
Councillor Guerin spoke. Deputy Mayor, have you spoke yet? Okay, then Councillor Verbeek.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just wondering if you could, for their shoreline protection, if they were to put that in, that would help with the drain as well, is my understanding. And the upkeep of the drain, which they would be responsible for, all the residents in that area are responsible for the upkeep of that drain financially, right? If there was any work to be done on it.
The chair. So the drain runs through what we would call like the Tawasatha Park area, like the wetland. But it's a natural water course. So we actually have no authority. We can't go in there. We can't clean it. We can't do anything with it. We have municipal drains that outlet into it at County Road 50. So everything north of County Road 50, we would maintain as a municipal drain, and those landowners and benefiting properties would pay their share towards the maintenance and upkeep of that drain. But the natural water course is regulated by IRCA. So any improvements to those lands would have to be regulated and approved by IRCA.
Opinion though, that if they were to do this shoreline protection work, that it would probably help protect that drain a little bit as well, as far as for future, and the shoreline protection.
Through the chair, I would say no, that any shoreline protection that would be put in on their property would be to benefit their property only and their property. We wouldn't be able to permit them to do any type of work on the town's property. Like I said, it's a regulated area. And even the shoreline protection, when they go to do the shoreline protection, this is an IRCA regulated area. They'll need an IRCA permit to even do the shoreline protection as well. So there are quite a few steps and quite a bit of money they have to invest to even get to that point.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to recommend that we receive and give direction as recommended by staff, because this gives us until September 15th before the final reading if we adopt the first and second. And for those of us that haven't been able to get down there, I'm not saying for sure, but it sounds to me like a lot of the questions that our Director Gerard is answering may be answered by ourselves going down and doing the visual. But I really feel this is great conversation. I would never want to see something like this hurried through. And I'm really glad that we're asking all these questions and having this conversation in the open, because we're talking about, like, it's only 5 feet, but it's still municipally owned property. We're talking about declaring surplus. I think once we all get down there, I'm familiar with the area. I was a stomping ground when I was young. I think we'll see that this will be a good thing. It'll be a good thing for the resident. It'll be a good thing all around. It's of no real use whatsoever to our municipality, but it could really help this resident do some solid shoreline protection. But as I say, I'm glad that we're doing this, but I also would only support the first 2 readings tonight. So we have a couple of weeks to go down, look at it ourselves, and get the rest of our answers. Could we postpone the third and final reading to October 6th? Oh, I thought you said, oh, did I? Okay.
Okay,
I
so
apologize. Yes.
Councilor Beek, you would like to move the bylaw, the first and
And the
second,
recommendations, both.
and the first and second. Okay, so we have a mover for the first and second. Needing a deputy mayor. Okay, thank you. I do want to go back to Councilor Hammond.
Through you, Mayor. Back to the 5-foot property. Please tell me there's a reason why town owns 100 by 5 feet property going from the road out to the lake. Tell me there's a reason.
I'm going to chime in. The reason why I was a bit distracted is I was trying to search for the history here, because I found something from 2022 where we actually asked administration, and then Richard Bosley retired. We actually asked administration to start looking at all of our shoreline properties, because we do have a lot of these little slivers and these little chunks that aren't doing us any good. And we could offload them to people that want to buy them and start collecting tax revenue off them, or people could beautify their property. Since we last talked, the manager of capital projects conducted a preliminary review of the properties to do an inventory to determine the property's legal status. And we found it to be quite a large undertaking. With Richard's retirement, we need to onboard somebody. So it's one of those things that it's a huge project. It kind of fell off the wayside. And here we are here, because we really do need to have an inventory of all of these properties. There was one at the end of Arner that was eroding really bad, and that kind of triggered this. So we have to get back to that, because we have to see if we want them. Why are we keeping them on our books? They're not really doing us any work, any favors, unless they're an easement. Some places there's legal easements where we have drainage. Okay, we don't know, Councilor Hammond. The answer is we don't know why. and each one is unique. So we have to do a whole investigation, and there's a lot of things going on, and we run really lean in the town of Essex. That's from my institutional knowledge that I found, and I'll try to look back to 2021 and find more information on it. Okay, so right now we have a motion on the floor for two readings. Yep, go ahead.
And something further to what Mr. Gerard said about the beach that they don't I get the impression he doesn't recognize it, and if he doesn't recognize that beach, he doesn't recognize Ambassador Beach or Belcraft Beach or Seymour Beach any more than he does Colchester Country Club Beach that is been used by these residents for generations. So just disregard them as not being beaches on these beaches is it's not acceptable to me.
The chair, I think Seymour Beach is a great example. So that is one that we know is privately owned. And so every single one of these beaches where the public are accessing it has different unique characteristics to it. Some of them will get legal issues as well. So when it comes to the levels of service that we offer, council can always explore if we want to begin upgrading certain beaches, but it comes with pretty significant cost, as well as additional legal liability under insurance policy. So I encourage you that if there's other beaches that outside of the Colchester Beach that you want to see, bring it forward to the 26 budget deliberations and we can consider upgrading them.
I'm not suggesting we need to do a deep dive into this. I'm just saying that it's been a policy for generations and we have to keep recognizing the policy for these beaches. Either that, then we have to do a deep dive, and then it's a big, I don't want to get into it.
The beach roads are definitely complicated. We know that with roads and now beaches and easements. So something, if council wants to make it a priority, then we will just keep working on it. The motion is on the table right now for first and second reading. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? And that is 2/3. So that has passed 2/3. Moving on, Office of the CAO, summary of outstanding council reports. Council members got this document. I will ask if there's any questions or comments. Question or comments on the summary of outstanding reports. I do want to, if there's no questions or comments from members. Council Hammond? Yeah. We are on 10.8, summary of outstanding council reports. We have not received it yet. I'm just asking council if they have any questions or comments. I'm sure members of council saw my list of questions or comments. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I do have one that I actually want to raise here in public with the Ward 3 reps, and it is in regards to seeing, and Director Gerard, with the help of our CAO, did write back. I just want to raise it publicly with our ward reps to see what their thoughts are on the speed report in Ward 3, where that is slated to come back in 2027. So I just wanted our Ward 3 reps to know that if that is something you're waiting for this term, we have to have that discussion and see if we can move it up in priority status, or if you're okay waiting for it to come back in 2027. I'm trying to find the number here. The April 2025 resolution 2504-117 follow up on the 3rd and 4th speed concession, and that is coming back around February 27th, February in 2027. So I've been talking a lot with the CAO about this, and I think that this is something where we are getting more notices of motion. We are getting more requests from administration. We really need to decide what our priorities here, because we know that more are going to be stacked on in the next year. So when we raise a notice of motion and direct administration to do a report, I think as a council, we have to decide what is priority to us or what is easy. It could be easy. What is, for example, the notice of motion on heritage groups, that's helpful going into budget. The notice of motion regarding Ontario Works and Ontario Disability Support, that's relatively easy. But there are some of these that are quite involved. So if you're raising an involved one, is it a priority or does it shuffle one of these priorities? So I'm looking if the council has any questions and comments. I thoroughly went through it, provided my questions, comments. Councillor Mady, and then Councillor.
Thank you, and through your worship. Yeah, I would love to see that report come sooner. But I wouldn't, like, I don't think it's administration's fault on that one. I think that we bear the burden on that one because they provided us a report and they provided us what they thought was the best thing to do. And we chose a different road. If there is a way to get to us faster, and allow us to re-debate that one, I would definitely appreciate it. But I definitely don't feel I could hold administration's feet to the fire on this one.
So one thing that we're planning to bring forward to CLT tomorrow after we debrief on today's agenda is maybe enhancing the report to include a status section so that council can better understand why it may have been delayed. So I think that's one enhancement that we'll make to the next quarterly report. Often there are competing priorities, and so that might help council understand why we decided on the timeline that was presented.
I just want to, through you, Mayor, I just want to echo your comments regarding the buildup of these work orders for our administration. I too have been noticing that they've been coming in more frequently, and it concerns me because the smaller things are going to get missed. I know myself, I have a couple of things that I've put on the back burner just because I want to get this year over with and let these people address these issues. So I wholeheartedly agree that we need to check ourselves before we start making these notices of motions and directing administration to deep dive into some of our requests.
Other comments from any other members of council? Okay, a motion to receive the report. Whoops, hang on, we don't have a mover and a seconder. Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councilor McGuire Blaze. All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Moving on to our county council update to the Deputy Mayor. Reports from our youth member. Welcome.
Through the chair, just some exciting news for those who haven't heard. Essex Home Hardware is the #1 store in Canada, so exciting news for our small town.
Okay, thank you for that, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor, through you. County Council approves a housing needs assessment. Essex County Housing Needs Assessment shows that over the next 10 years, we will need more than 15,000 new homes, units, including 2,250 affordable rentals, with 750 deeply affordable right now. Nearly 10,000 households are on the wait list, and about 3,000 households spend more than half their income on housing. The strategy presented to council is built around 3 pillars: increasing housing options, strengthening the housing sector, and improving access for those in the greatest need. 6 priority actions include pre-zoning and making surplus lands available, streamlining approvals, creating targeted incentives, and partnering with community housing providers. Ending funding requests will come forward through future budget process. County Council voted to send a letter to the Association of Municipalities of Ontario and others in the support of the Elect Respect Pledge. This initiative stands against harassment and abuse, aiming to restore civility in public square and ensure that candidates, elected officials, and public can participate in democracy without fear of intimidation. Council also approved a new preservation and tree canopy and natural vegetation policy bylaw. This policy recognizes the environmental, economic, and health benefits of trees and natural areas and commits the county to working with municipalities, developers, landowners, and community to preserve and enhance our tree canopy and natural heritage. County Council supported formalizing a long-term standing lease with the EMS base on Peely Island. The base has operated under a $2 per year lease for many years, and about $85,000 in renovations are needed to add a second apartment for paramedics. The Township of Peely will contribute $20,000 with the remainder covered with the existing EMS budget. County Council voted to send a letter of support for Invest Windsor Essex application to Trade Impacted Communities Program, a $40 million fund aimed at helping local manufacturing and agribusinesses affected by cross-border trade disruptions. And finally, at the AMO conference, CAOs Weirs and Warden Hilda McDonald asked the Minister of Transportation for $60 million toward a grade-operated interchange at County Road 22 and 19 Manning. With the county committing to $45 million, they stressed this project is vital to managing the growth and highlighted the county's $98 million investment in roads this year. And that's my county council report.
Deputy Mayor Shepley, looking for a motion to receive the county council update. Moved by Councilor Mady, supported by Councilor Hammond. Questions to the Deputy Mayor? Go, put your mic on.
Just the last figure you had for the, was it for Manning and
It was 60 million grade separated interchange with 45 million from the county and the rest, committing to 45 million from the county. And the balance, if you're talking about the other one, it was highlighted, $98 million investment in roads this year.
yeah.
Is that the part?
No, I was more concerned about the 60 million for the easement, yeah.
Okay. All in favor of receiving the county update? And that is carried. 13, correspondence to be received. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the correspondence listed in agenda item 13.1 be received. And we have the Municipality of Blue Water, Fort Francis, and the Ontario Medical Association thanking us for meeting with them at AMO. Moved by Councilor McGuire-Blaze and Councilor Verbeek. Any questions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Correspondence to be received and supported. The Waste and our Water and Wastewater Operators Appreciation Day, Director Malanjuklo. Instructing you to get a motion on the floor first. Moved by Councilor Guerin, supported by Councilor McGuire-Blaze. Director Malanjuklo.
Through you. Whereas water operators are essential to long-term sustainable access to safe and reliable drinking water in our community. Whereas their work is vital to health and safety of our communities, they are responsible for monitoring the operation of water systems and facilities, conducting routine maintenance, adjusting treatment processes, identifying and addressing equipment issues, ensuring that the water quality meets or exceeds legislative guidelines, and ensures distribution of clean, safe, and reliable drinking water. Whereas wastewater operators are essential to communities to provide citizens with the monitoring and treatment of wastewater, whereas their work is vital to ensuring reliable wastewater conveyance and treatment by operating wastewater facilities and equipment to purify and treat wastewater to dispose of sewage, by cleaning and maintaining collection systems, facilities, equipment, tanks, filter beds, and other work areas.
And that's carried unanimously. Now therefore, I, Sherry Bondi, Mayor of the Town of Essex, on behalf of Town Council and the community at large, now call upon the citizens of the Town of Essex to observe the day of October 23rd, 2025 as Water and Wastewater Operator Appreciation Day, and that we do something on social media. Okay, that's it. Okay. Well, I don't drink some water. Rotary Club of Essex, needing a mover and a seconder that the flag request from the Rotary Club of Essex World Polo Day, October 19th, be received and supported. Councilor Verbeek, Councilor Allard, any questions? All in favor? Oh, Councilor Verbeek, go ahead.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. I'm just glad that the Rotary is keeping this important issue on our radar. You know, I had an aunt and uncle that lived their life with disabilities because of polio in their youth, and thank goodness vaccines have changed that. And I was talking to my kids the other night about how this anti-vaccine movement has the potential to change where we're at with important diseases like polio that are easily avoidable. So I'm glad they're keeping this in the forefront.
And that was supported already. Essex Municipal Heritage Committee, the resignation of Derek Peters from the Municipal Heritage Committee. Looking for a mover and a seconder that the resignation be received and that council direct administration to write a letter of appreciation and thanks for his commitment. Councillor Hammond, supported by Councillor Mady with a comment.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I believe that was a spelling mistake. It should be Grant Peters, not Derek Peters. And Grant was a terrific member of our Heritage Committee. He actually came to us from Heritage Canada. Such a wealth of knowledge on such a wonderful young man. And I totally understand, though, he just has a new baby and life's pretty fulfilling right now without without the additional stress of the Heritage Committee. So I hope to see him again when life settles back down a little bit for him. And he did a wonderful job for us.
Councillor Mady. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Committee meeting minutes. Looking for a mover and a seconder that we receive the committee meeting minutes for the Coan Park Committee of Adjustment. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Verbeek. Any questions on those minutes? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Nothing under financial, and at this point, I'm going to pass the gavel to the Deputy Mayor.
New business. Go ahead, Mayor Bondi.
I think Director Malanjuclo is going to read it.
So the mayor is proposing a matter of new business. She asked me to read it for council. That Town of Essex Council endorse the establishment of a Windsor chapter of Ontario Search and Rescue and direct administration to draft a letter of support for a Windsor chapter of Ontario Search and Rescue to be sent to the group working to organize such Windsor chapter.
Clarify why this would be minor and urgent for us, please.
Chair, it is a minor because all we need to do is send a letter, and other municipalities have already sent a letter. It is urgent because it has come to my attention that we are one of the only municipalities that have yet to send a letter to support this branch. So this came up today at the Police Service Board, and it's timely because we want to get this letter of support out there as soon as possible so that they could set up this branch. If somebody's child or loved one goes missing, they don't have the support letters yet to open an organization here. So I don't even want to delay this by 2 weeks.
Bondi, I'll allow it.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So I'm seeking a motion that the Town of Essex Council endorse the establishment of the Windsor Chapel in the motion as per Director Malanjuclo said.
Seconded by Councilor Verbeek. Any questions?
Thank you, Chair. Just today, residents can go on our YouTube channel. I think it might be linked to our website as well, but it's on the Town of Tecumseh. The Police Service Board meetings are now live streamed. They're hosted in the Town of Tecumseh, which is really awesome that they're live streamed. We had a delegation come today and they're working to set up this chapter because the police often don't have resources for search and rescue or large scale, if you're checking farmlands, checking bushes, and they do a lot of training for their volunteers. And it'd be great to see a chapter here. So if somebody goes missing, everybody is all trained and they get on the vest and they go search. So I will keep you posted when this gets set up, but the sooner it gets set up, the better. There are missing people in our community right now that could use the help of these folks.
Through you, Chair. I guess my question should be a little bit confusing on the name of it. So it's the Windsor Search and Rescue chapter, but it's actually going to be for our OPP North Service Board. Is that correct?
I can answer that. It will be for LaSalle Police Area, Windsor Police Area, OPP area. It'll be for Windsor, Essex County. They work with all of the organizations because sometimes missing people have no boundaries.
Seeing no other questions, all in favor? And that carries.
Jucolo?
Bondi, through you. The following notice of motion was presented at the September 2, 2025 regular council meeting and is being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Allard. Whereas council and employees of the Town of Essex have experienced harassment and other reprehensible conduct by members of the public and other third parties, now therefore be it resolved that the Town of Essex Council direct administration to develop a policy to regulate and provide guidelines for addressing the conduct of members of the public and other third parties when dealing with council and employees of the corporation of the town of Essex.
Seconder, Deputy Mayor Shepley. Councillor Allard, would you wish to speak to your motion?
We all seen what happened here in our council chambers a couple weeks ago with a gentleman pointing out to take over certain positions. And I feel that, that was uncalled for and very rude, but I don't think it was actionable. But there is other times out in the community where a representative of the town is accosted, and it shouldn't be done. That we should be across the board the same, all respect. There is our zone, that the municipality participation zero tolerance, which Councillor Verbeek actually referred me to. And I like that Councillor or Deputy Mayor had spoke to the county doing a policy on tolerance of violence and vandalism, and it's important to be safe in your every day. Thank you.
Any other members of council? Deputy Mayor Shepley?
Thank you, through you, Madam Mayor. So with respect to this, I like the idea and I fully support it. I think it's a great thing to do. It's a feel-good function in a sense, though, because bad behavior is bad behavior, and whatever we put on that wall, we're still gonna see that type of behavior from time to time. And that particular person, one of the persons that was the outburst that night, is well aware of what council conduct is. So I fully support this, and I hope that just us talking about this will help ensure people what's expected. I know as a young man, I came before this council. I think I was in grade 8 or grade 9, and we wore a suit when we came in, and it was very respectful. And you didn't disrespect the councilors or the mayor or anybody. There was so much respect that we had back then, and I would like to return to that time. And I'm hoping, putting that up is a great thing. It's a great step, and I think we need to encourage our members and friends and family and everybody when they do come in, treat everybody with respect. I try to treat everybody with the same respect that I expect to receive in return, and I hope that this act will help that maybe just to remind people on their way in that they should stick to that council decorum.
Director Malin-Jukula, then Councillor Guerin, then Councillor Verbeek.
Chair, one thing that I just wanted to mention is, of course, all of our members of council are subject to our council code of conduct, and everyone operates in accordance with the code of conduct. With this being on the radar, administration has started the initial stages of looking into something like this for residents. And one of the things that it'll allow us to do is create procedures and practices for when this type of activity happens at town facilities. It'll allow the CAO to do things like restrict sources of communication, types of communication to municipal staff and municipal council members. And if the CAO wants to restrict somebody from a town facility because of their actions at that town facility, she can go ahead and do things like that. So you'll see the policy when it comes out, but it's what we're trying to do is we're trying to create some rules that will allow the CAO to protect staff and council members.
Councillor Guerin.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering, because we do have code of conducts and we have some language we've adopted in the past, but I guess we don't have a per se third-party policy with respect to people coming into the chambers, so I'm all for stuff like that. I will echo what Deputy Mayor Shepley's saying. I mean, with all that in place, still keep in mind we're public figures. We are going to be scrutinized. We are going to be ridiculed, and it is part of the job. But if we can have some boundaries in place so that when the people coming through the door who should know better anyways have to be reminded, I'm all for it.
Okay, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, it was very timely, and I was appreciative to see your notice of motion. And I did send Councillor Allard about the R zones, which I only learned about at this last AMO. A number of municipalities have already adopted them and put them in place. But what I learned talking to a lot of people at these workshops was that you have to have a strong policy in place so that you have something to fall back on. And the policies have to be a lot more than you have to be respectful in chambers. You have to behave this way in our arenas. They have to say, like, you can't have a bunch of aggression on the ice spill over into the stands and have people wrestling each other without suffering consequences. You can't come into the chambers and raise your finger at our administration or our elected officials and, intimidate. They have, you can go, you're supposed to go as far as to have actual consequences, which there are local municipalities. Leamington, if you go on and read there, our zone, they have good policies and there's also consequences. So people need to know, you know what? You act this way in one of our arenas or one of our facilities and you're going to get ejected. You act this way, you're going to be banned from our facilities for this much time. That can go as far as having law enforcement against them or banning them from certain facilities for good if they don't follow the, but first and foremost, we can't get to any of the consequences or take any actions if we don't have solid policies and put them out there. And then eventually when we get to that place, make sure we certainly, do a media blitz and post them well and all of that. But I'm really glad to hear that Director Melendrucolo, that you are already working on that. And there's a whole bunch, I pulled up a bunch of municipalities that are already have, good policies in place we could look to.
Councilor Verbeek, Councilor McGuire, please.
Thanks through the chair. I find it ridiculous that we even have to put this, we even have to do this. I mean, we're talking about grown adults, people who should know how to behave in public, regardless of their feelings about anything or anyone. So it's embarrassing, to be quite honest, that we have residents in Essex who make such a stink that we have to put a policy in place. So my apologies to everybody who doesn't fit that category, that we have to do this. But my question is, are we implementing this like throughout the municipality, or is it just in municipal buildings?
As I described, we're just in the initial stages. But the policy that administration has begun to draft, it includes treatment towards town staff and administration and council, whether they're acting in their capacity as representatives of the town, whether they're in town facilities or outside of town facilities, just in their capacity as a member of the town.
That my only concern is I do agree that this should represent our municipal staff, especially public works, who are out in the parks or on the sidewalks. They're constantly out there, and I know that residents are approaching them going, "Why are you watering this?" or giving them the what. But for us as counselors, I mean, I can walk down the sidewalk and I will have a neighbor come out and be like, "Counselor, why did you do this?" And I don't agree with it. And I feel like I don't want to put that limitation on our residents. I feel like they should still be able to disagree with me. They should still even be able to say, "You know what? I'm not voting for you next time. I might run against you." I don't want to take that freedom away from them. I feel like the code of conduct for council members should be different than the code of conduct for our municipal staff.
Chair, theoretically, the way that the code of conduct would work is that, first of all, the member would have to make a complaint to the CAO. So the staff member or the council member would have to complain about the conduct, and the CAO would have to determine that it was a reprehensible conduct. And then the CAO can determine how she wants to deal with that reprehensible conduct, and it would be in coordination with the staff member or the council member, and then that decision will be communicated to the resident, and the resident will have a chance to appeal that decision, and then we'll have a chance after a certain amount of time to ask for a reconsideration of that decision. So it's going to have an evolved set of rules and processes so that it doesn't change the way that people are able to communicate and interact with council members and the staff. but at the same time, still provide us with something that we can go to when we need to go to it. And you'll see it all before it gets passed, obviously.
I think there's a big difference between what you're describing, Councilor Maguire-Blaze. I've lived that 15 years of my life, but somebody coming into our council chambers where we're working and trying to intimidate members of council who are voting on an issue, that's where I think the line is drawn. People are going to say a lot and comment a lot to us, but when it's, you know, in our staff, like our staff shouldn't have to deal with that in a meeting either. So I fully support this. I look forward to it, and I hope that people are listening and knowing that we have a zero tolerance policy when it comes to people coming to our council meetings, how they're acting, how they're treating our staff. We've had people in here, delegates, you know, staring down at our staff, basically giving them the gears in here too. Like, that is not allowed. Looking forward to a new council chamber where we can actually fit better and have, and hopefully that will help with decorum. We can get these posters up on the wall and everybody will know their expectations, you know, no yelling at council members during meetings. Okay, anybody else? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Director Malandrucolo?
Rondi, through you. The following notice of motion was also presented at the September 2, 2025 regular council meeting and is being brought forward this evening for council's consideration. Moved by Councilor Maguire-Blaze that the town will be installing a sidewalk on Irwin Avenue between Fairview Avenue East and County Road 23. And whereas there's currently no designated pedestrian crossing along County Road 23 connecting Irwin Avenue, and whereas the nearest controlled intersection at Talbot Street and County Road 23 and at Fairview Avenue East and County Road 23 lack continuous sidewalks along the east side of County Road 23 to connect to Irwin Avenue, and whereas the absence of a crossing walk at this location poses a potential safety risk for pedestrians, including students, residents, and visitors. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council direct administration to work with the County of Essex to complete an assessment for the installation of a pedestrian crosswalk at Irwin Avenue across County Road 23 and include the installation cost in the 2026 capital budget for Council's consideration, as this would be the most cost-effective and efficient way to ensure pedestrian safety and connectivity in this area.
Councilor Verbeek. Councilor Maguire-Blaze?
Thanks. So this was brought to my attention from the residents of Irwin. And the only reason why I'm bringing the crosswalk at this section is because honestly, it's probably the most cost effective to connect that side of town to the other, one side of town to the other. Other than putting another, there is a sidewalk that runs along the west side, I'm going to call it, the west side of County Road 23, but there's no sidewalk on the east side. So I think honestly, the best way to do it would to bring it to an already controlled crossing, like the stop sign or the street light. But now we're having to put in a sidewalk. Sidewalks are expensive. If we could just put in a pedestrian crossing at Irwin, it would prevent us from having to put in a sidewalk on the east side of County Road 23 and be cost effective. And I'm bringing it to the attention now because we are putting that sidewalk in that stretch, I think 2026. So in 2026, we'll be putting that sidewalk in. Hopefully we can just include the crosswalk as part of it and go from there.
The motion? Councilor Mady, then Councilor Guerin.
Through you, Chair. I'm just curious, when it says direct council administration to work with the County of Essex to complete the assessment for the installation, to our administration, what would that look like? Are you able to offer to pay for some of the crosswalk on a county road, or tell them where to put a crosswalk on a county road, or?
The chair, that section of road is actually a county connecting link, so it's our road. It's county traffic, so we'll consult with them, especially in proximity to where their county road would be. But ultimately, any of the costs would be borne by us.
Mayor. I like the idea of it. I just don't know if it's such a bad area. I mean, it's a truck route. They come around that corner. It's almost like a blind spot. I just don't know if the crosswalk, lit or not, is going to even be I see them running that light and trying to catch that green, the trucks, and it needs something. I don't know if this is it. I don't want to give anyone a sense of this entitlement that just because they can push a button, it's okay, just start walking across that road because they come on that quick. So I guess what you're kind of asking is for administration to discuss it with county to see if it would be viable options. That's what you're going for, right?
All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Director Malandruco.
Through you. The following three notices of motion are for presentment only and will be brought forward for council's consideration at the October 6, 2025 regular council meeting. The first one, moved by Mayor Bondi, that council direct administration to revise closed meeting agendas of council to provide as much information as possible about the general nature of the matters to be considered in council's resolutions to go into a closed meeting without compromising the reason for holding a closed meeting, with such revisions being implemented for all closed meeting agendas published by the town going forward after the passing of this resolution. The second, moved by Councilor McGuire-Blaze, whereas the Town of Essex zoning bylaw currently provides parking exceptions and exemptions for existing buildings located on lands and parking exception areas in downtown Essex and downtown Harrow, for example, waiving parking requirements for retail establishments, and whereas opportunities to construct new developments on vacant lands in parking exception areas in downtown Essex and downtown Harrow are available for infill development, and whereas a goal in the town's strategic plan is to leverage our town's competitive advantages to promote jobs and economic investment. Now therefore be it resolved that council direct administration to initiate the zoning bylaw amendment process to consider parking exceptions and exemptions for new commercial construction in parking exception areas in downtown Essex and downtown Harrow. And finally, moved by Councilor McGuire-Blaze, whereas the Town of Essex supports residential intensification as a means to help make Essex more affordable and provide more housing options for its residents, and whereas the main mode of commuting for the employed labor force and private households in the Town of Essex is a motorized vehicle, now therefore be it resolved that council direct administration to report back to council on parking requirements for residential uses, considering such factors as unit size, building type, location, and density, and include issues and opportunities with the town's current parking requirements in its zoning bylaw.
Reports and announcements from council members. We'll start with Councilor Guerin and work our way around.
Yeah, just remind everyone, it's hockey season again. It's 73 start tomorrow, Tuesday, and we play Moortown. So come on out, and hockey's back.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. On a little somber note, I attended a function this weekend. It's an annual golf tournament. I usually help out during it, and I was pressed this year due to a wake that I wanted to go to of a young man that I've become very fond of, who struggled and ended up taking his life a week prior. But while I was at the function and catering to these people, I got looking around and go, my God. In the last year, there's 3 families in this room that have experienced the same thing. And as I mentioned it to somebody else, they said, Rod, those 3 families, they live on the same street. We have a crisis that's going on, and it's not slowing down by any means. Please, anybody out there that's not feeling right, look for answers, look for help. Call the crisis center, 519-973-4435. And anybody that says something wrong with somebody else, phone that line as well. Look for advice. Let's try and save a life.
Bless you. Thank you, and through you, Mayor. Yeah, great announcement. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that to the attention. There's a few events that are happening in Colchester and Harrow over the next couple days. There's the Colchester Village Markets happening on September 20th at the Colchester Schoolhouse. The Harrow Kinsmen have the Wiggle Fest that's happening on September 20th also in Colchester Park. So it'll be a great day to visit downtown Colchester. There's the Do It for Dad 5K happening on Dunn Road. This is the first time this event's happening on Dunn Road. I think it'll become a great event, and I hope to see everybody out there for the inaugural one. Harrow Open Streets are going to be on September 26th, and that's going to be downtown Harrow. The streets will be closed. Come out for a good night. And the Daisy and Cove 5K Steps for a Cure is happening on September 28th in downtown Harrow. So it's a busy couple of weeks down in the southern end. It's supposed to be some beautiful weather, nice fall temperatures. Please come out.
For you, Madam Mayor, just want to give a shout out to the Legion for the golf tournament that I attended and all their volunteers. They did a great job this weekend, and even Councillor Hammond did cook the steaks up, and they were cooked steaks and chicken. They were cooked perfectly. And other than that, not necessarily town business, but my oldest son gets married this Saturday, so I'll be celebrating that on Saturday.
Okay, thanks. I have just two announcements, and one is the McGregor Mug Run is this Saturday. There's still lots of time. It's a craft beer fest. It's a really nice night. Consider going out, supporting the event. There's proceeds that go to the Epilepsy Foundation. So also I want to give a shout out to the Essex Firemen's Association had a celebration on Saturday night that I was able to attend and bring remarks on behalf of Essex Council. And it was a really nice event. It was very simple. It was a steak barbecue, and they were able to bring together a lot of the alumni, the alumni that have served on Essex Fire in the past. A really solemn part for me, they had a ringing of the bell service where they read the names of past firemen that had passed on since the last time they gathered. And then they'd ring the bell. There was quite a few names read. But the men really seemed to have a good time catching up with each other. A lot of good fellowship happening in that room. What struck me was that these fellas only do this once every 10 years. And they're, other than the few that are serving right now, it was all alumni. So it was not a very young crowd. And I thought, boy, every 10 years. And it was such a wonderful, simple night. Like to wonder if there was a way to have that happen a little more often. I was proud to get to talk to a lot of the people and thank them for their service.
Said by the other counselors, I just want to thank Rodney, Counselor Hammond, for his words. Means a lot. Mental health is a lot to everybody, and if you're struggling, get out there and get some help. Thank you.
Thanks through the chair. I just want to, we're 2 weeks into the school year now, and this morning with the fog, actually the last couple of days in the morning with the fog, it was reminded me to take a little bit of time in the morning. School buses are out and our kids are standing on the sides of the roads, especially in the county. And sometimes you're not paying the most attention when you're headed into work in the morning. So if everybody could just slow down in the morning, take an extra 5 minutes, make sure our kids get to school safe, and make sure you're not going around a school bus that has its stop sign out. I'm hoping to see more OPP out in the morning, ticketing and charging those people who make that offense, because our kids are number one. Secondly, I just wanted to remind everybody that on September 27th, we are having the Soapbox Derby races in Essex. They will be located behind the Dollarama, Dollar Tree, in Heritage Park. The organization has a lot of fun things happening. They have lots of things for kids. They have vendors, food vendors and shopping vendors. There's prizes for people who just come and watch. So door prizes for people, door prizes for the kids who participate. Lots of fun and exciting things happening on the 27th. The rain date for that is the 28th. So if the Saturday is a rainy day, which it won't be, it'll be a beautiful day. It'll be held on the 28th, the following or the next day. So I hope to see everybody out there, and good luck to all of those racers.
For members of the public watching, all of us have little gold ribbons on tonight donated to us from ChildCan. And September is Childhood Cancer Month. We did raise a flag this month as well. And in June, we raised a proclamation here at council. So just a reminder to keep those in our thoughts, and hopefully one day we will live in a world with no cancer at all, especially childhood cancer. Going to our bylaws, bylaw 2478 being a bylaw for the declaration and disposition of surplus lands at 36 Queen Street and a portion of 25 Queen Street by the Corporation of the Town of Essex be read a third and finally passed on September 15th. Looking for a mover and a seconder for this. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Guerin. Any questions on this? All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Bylaw 2477 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 2nd regular meeting of council. Moved by Councillor Mady, supported by Councillor Allard. Any questions? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Bylaws requiring a first, second, third, final reading. Bylaw 2482 being a bylaw to appoint a director of corporate services treasurer for the town of Essex. That bylaw 2482 being a bylaw to appoint Kadar to be read a first, second, third time, finally passed on September 15th. Councillor Verbeek, Deputy Mayor Shepley, any other questions? All in favor? Now it's official. Oh, we already got you a name tag. That's good. All in favor. Bylaw 2480 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the September 15th regular council meeting to be read a first and second time, provisionally adopted September 15th. Moved by Deputy Mayor Shepley, supported by Councillor Guerin. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. And looking for a motion to adjourn, Deputy Mayor Shepley, Councillor Hammond, and we do have a roundtable meeting next week, so we're not having an off Monday this month. So all in favor? Have a good evening, everybody. That is carried.